Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Hey guys, welcome to ASR. I'm Nick, this is Marc-Andre.
Hey everybody, so we're just here to announce that in this current season of PRL, we'll be giving away 2 ASR 3s to 2 lucky winners. So stay competitive, keep racing fair, and may the best man win.
Bradley Holly, Abner Acosta, Thomas Sink, and Danny Cervantes. One of those names will be up in lights by the end of tonight's racing in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. It's the championship round, round 10 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Not only are we deciding the playoffs, we've got a season championship and a team's title to settle too. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner, and with me in the booth as always, Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Atlanta. What a place to cap off the year. A highly banked quad oval. It's always going to be a challenge for the drivers. Let's head to the GSRC track guide to learn more about it.
Welcome to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, an iconic staple on the NASCAR Cup schedule since the doors opened back in 1960. Located roughly 20 miles south of downtown and the suburb of Hampton, Atlanta has forged out a spot in history, playing host to some of the most iconic moments in motorsports. Prior to its repave and reconfiguration, Atlanta looked more like modern-day Homestead. In the summer of 1997, Atlanta was reconfigured to that 1.54-mile quad oval it's currently at. After that switch, the NASCAR Xfinity Series and Truck Series also became regular yearly competitors at the track. But it's actually an IndyCar that holds the track record here. The series ran regularly at Atlanta for 4 years. The surface here has certainly worn over time, giving way to its sister track in Texas as the fastest quad oval on the NASCAR schedule. Surface here has not seen any paving since construction finished in 1997. Over the years, the track has become famous for its super close photo finishes, thanks in part to a very wide exit off of turn 4 compared to both Texas and Charlotte. It allows competitors to often exit 2 and even 3 wide with room to spare, and that outside lane can get quite a run to the checkered flag. That's our look at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, Atlanta Motor Speedway, as we just learned in the track guide, a very old surface here, which is certainly going to play havoc with the tires in these trucks, but it's very highly banked, and we've got a great night of racing ahead of us here tonight.
That's right. The real-world version may be getting a facelift right now, but we still have the classic asphalt of Atlanta Motor Speedway here, and like you mentioned, Reese, it is going to chew up the tires. This is a very old racing surface that's full of aggregate and ready to tear up those tires. So tire management is going to be the name of the game, but this track also has a very wide racing groove and you carry a lot of speed around here. So look for 2-3 wide racing, and the line choice around the corners here is going to be at a premium.
It certainly is. Our broadcast today is brought to you by many fantastic sponsors here in the Precision Racing League, the first of which is Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it today, using it now for free at RaceLab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SIMMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. For the final time this season, let's take a look at the lie of the land in the championship standings. The driver points for Season 4 of 2021. Abner Acosta leads by 10 points over Bradley Holly, and with the very small gap in points between positions, it's only 1 point's difference between every position. Unless there's a problem for Abner Acosta and he ends up retiring, it's likely that he will take the Season 4 title from Bradley Holly, Chris.
That's right. This is one of the closer championship battles we've had here. And as we head over to the team side, it's a little bit less wrapped up top, or a little bit less open up top, I should say, is the Waterback Overdrive team. All but has this one locked up, but that battle for second is red hot, with Back Row Racing holding just a slim margin over Car Ramrod and Car Motorsports, trying to get that one locked in.
Indeed, it's going to be quite an interesting championship fight there for the teams. And in terms of the playoffs, well, I said their names at the start of the broadcast. Acosta, Holly, Sink, and Cervantes. It's a pretty simple situation for the yearly title here. Whoever finishes ahead out of those drivers wins. So that's going to be the way things go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway tonight. In terms of the race details, it's the same deal as many other. This is what we've got going. 85 laps here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles. Of course, they only get 4 sets of tires, and they're going to have to be careful about when they choose to pit. Otherwise, the tires are going to go off, and there's going to be a great pace difference between the drivers. You also got to be careful of damage as well. No spare truck, and only a 24 incident limit before you get disqualified. At 12 incidents, you get a drive-through penalty. So the drivers will be wanting to minimize contact here today. Well, the drivers are in the final minutes of the practice session at the moment, and then we'll go through into qualifying. Every driver's going to get 2 laps over 5 minutes to set their times for the grid. Currently, it is Bradley Holly on top in the practice session. Josh Conker and Thomas Sink, second and third. Acosta there in fourth. So probably not exactly where Abner Acosta will want to be, but Chris, we've noted that Abner Acosta has been on top form this season, and he has been for most of the year actually, ever since he started going over to the oval side of things in the PRL.
That's right. He's been in the championship mix in both the Cup and Truck Series for the PRL. And this is the best positioned he's been going into a season finale here today. And while his pace so far is a bit behind Bradley Holly in practice, keep in mind with that 10-point advantage and just a single point in between positions, really all Abner has to do is keep Bradley Holly within his sights. And he has a very strong chance at locking up that Season 4 championship.
And you're certainly not going to miss Abner Acosta out there. Look at his truck, bright yellow private label, Team Hype number 5. Certainly going to stand out amongst the pack here, as with pretty much every truck out there. Some fantastic liveries that we've got here on the trucks around this circuit. Only a minute to go in practice, and seems that these gaps, as close as they have ever been. Charles Sumner at the moment in P8, and only 5 thousandths separating him from Richard Thomas there. Charles Sumner is part of the Car Ramrod team with Adam Zemke. They'll be fighting for second place in the team's championship if they can nail it, and if there's problems for Thomas Sink, who is currently in third. Sink is part of the Waterback Back Row team, currently hold on to P2 in the team's championship, so Sink is going to be the target here for Sumner and Zemke.
That's right, a lot on the line here still. Ooh, it's a big hit there in practice. With just about 20 seconds remaining here, it's still Bradley Holly up top, and you see Danny Cervantes there, one of our 4 drivers, still eligible for that year-long championship. And he's one that could pull out a surprise here today and maybe take that overall year championship.
Yes, let's see if he can nail the lap in qualifying and maybe work his way up through the field. Give a challenge to Acosta, Holly, and Sink. You get a good view with these B-roll shots of just how harsh the surface is at Atlanta. Again, the track guide highlighting that the surface has not changed since 1997 when the track was reconfigured to its current layout. So with only 4 sets of tyres, it's all going to be about tyre strategy. Fuel may not factor into it in these trucks. The race, of course, is nice and short for an oval race at only 85 laps around this 1.5 mile oval. And Bradley Holly will be making his way out soon, but we're focusing on Patrick Cowgill here in the number 31 Waterback Next Level Racing. And Cowgill's season, it's not quite gone to plan for him. We know that he's got skill, Patrick Cowgill, but throughout this season, he's been involved in incidents back in the field, and that's put him on the back foot to try and challenge for any kind of glory here. But he'll have one final chance here at Atlanta as he starts his first qualifying lap. So, Chris, what does it take here to go fast around Atlanta? I think we can see one thing that Cowgill's doing, running the high line to get some extra momentum for his second lap.
Yeah, that is exactly it, Reese. With the way the engine is configured on these trucks, momentum is the name of the game. So a lot of them will spend their warm-up lap as well as their first lap running as high up the banking as they can to try to build up as much momentum as they can get so that they have a better chance of nailing that second lap, and that'll be the money lap.
Well, they're starting to come in here. Bradley Holly, 31.405. Cowgill goes to P2 with that lap. Doug Evans, good enough for P6, but Doyle Lawrence pips them all, goes up to P3 for the moment. Let's see if Holly can go any faster here on his second lap. Just making his way out of turn 4 now through the quad oval, just touching the grass, and a 31.2. Fantastic stuff there. Patrick Cowgill also goes faster, 0.04 of a second behind in P2. Danny Cervantes, though, to second place. That is huge there.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Reese, Cervantes, one of those drivers still in play for the year-long championship. And he's going to want to get as good a start as he possibly can. That championship, pretty straightforward. Whichever one of our 4 contenders finishes highest is going to be the year-long champion for the PRL Truck Series.
First lap for CM Harrington, meanwhile, good enough for 14th, 31.7. He'll undoubtedly go faster, or maybe he won't if that slide is anything to go by. Matthew Long, he was challenging early on for the Season 4 Drivers' Championship, but unfortunately some poor results have meant that he's not quite been able to challenge the likes of Acosta and Holly, but a 31.2 will be good enough for P3, and he'll certainly be looking for a race win tonight.
And there's Jim Westerfield on track. He's one of those drivers that has had some pretty solid runs this season, has also been bitten by bad luck quite a few times as well. So Jim Westerfield looking to end his year on a high note as he comes across the line there.
31.5 to 16th place. Abner Acosta sets his first lap, 31.3. And, oh, that's ominous. He might go even faster here on the second lap, up to P7. There's only a tenth and a bit separating himself from pole position, which Bradley Holly currently holds. Have a look at those gaps. The top 6 covered by less than a tenth of a second. So what can Abner Acosta do here to take pole position? Will he succeed? 31.243, only a thousandth behind Danny Cervantes. It's going to be third for Abner Acosta starting here at Atlanta. And it looks like it's confirmed pretty much that Bradley Holly is going to be the pole sitter. But Adam Zemke is one of those drivers who could potentially pip him. We'll have to wait and see. He's only going to have one opportunity here to set a lap. Only 50 seconds to go. Josh Conker, meanwhile, goes to P4. Good performance there.
Yeah, great run by Josh Conker. If everything holds steady, he'll start alongside his private label Team Hype teammate, Abner Acosta there in row number 2.
Zemke running the high line here around his first lap. Is he going to have enough time to actually get a proper time in on his second lap? Only 20 seconds to go as he crosses the line, and, well, I think that settles it. He's not going to be able to get another lap in. Zemke running a time good enough for P24 at the moment. Unfortunately, it seems he's left it just a bit too late to get his laps in.
Well, that'll be a tough break for Zemke, but he's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on for a hard charger award in this race today as we close out the qualifying session here and get ready to head to the grid.
And the grid shall be as follows. What a front row this is. Bradley Holly and Danny Cervantes, with fellow playoffs contender Abner Acosta starting in third alongside Adam Shane. He ended up pipping Josh Conker right at the end of the session. Great performance there. Conker's going to start alongside Matthew Long on row 3. Patrick Cowgill and the final of our 4 playoff contenders, Thomas Sink, starting 7th and 8th. It's Rob Haynes and Doug Evans who round out the top 10.
Doyle Lawrence, strong qualifying performance to start 11th. Mark Kalin to his outside. Row number 7 is going to be Clayton Montgomery and Danik Momi, with Charles Sumner and Richard Thomas in row number 8. Austin Hunter and Baron Hilton make up row number 9, with Dalton Geyer and Jim Westerfield completing your top 20 starters.
And rounding out our 28-car field tonight, Rob Nella and Ryan Traver starting 21st and 22nd. Row 12 is going to be Clayton Curry and Adam Zemke, with CM Pennington, Nicholas Hunter, Tom Amassi and James Dewar rounding out our field. It's a nice grid that we've got here for the final round of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series for 2021. And Bradley Holly, of course, we've got an eye in on what's going on in the real world on his end. He's always been a cool cat, as Bradley Holly, barely betraying any emotion on his face throughout the season. But with pole position, there you go. His preparations certainly right in it. A lovely deep breath to begin this session.
And of course, as always, Bradley wearing his lucky t-shirt, which has brought him plenty of success here in the last couple seasons.
He'll be hoping that it brings him enough luck here to take the title in the final round of the playoffs. Starting alongside one of his fellow contenders, Abner Acosta starting just behind 3 of our 4 playoff contenders in the top 3 positions on the grid. What a stage has been set for the end of the season as they pull off on the formation lap. Now, the track guide did mention that the outside line here can certainly be an advantage. You can get some extra momentum. So if Bradley Holly doesn't nail the start here, he'll be immediately under attack from Danny Cervantes around the outside.
That's right. The outside can definitely be a difference maker at this track, especially once we get deeper into the run, because the banking on the outside can be slightly more forgiving on the tires than trying to drive it down to the white line. So look for some of those drivers to maybe move up towards the top of the track to try to prolong the life of their tires.
Yeah, any excuse you can get to work the tires a little less will certainly be welcome. Pace car pulling into the pits momentarily, and we'll get off to a start here. Number 184, Bradley Holly, is the one leading the way. How will he nail the start? In goes the pace car. When does he decide to go? Waiting for the green flag. And we are away. For the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, the championship round at Atlanta is go. And it's a clean start from all of the field, a very even start as well. Holly just edges ahead of Danny Cervantes into turn 1. Abner Acosta managing to get a slightly better run on the inside, but it's almost 3 wide behind between Shane Long and Haynes. And that seems to be the only 3 wide in the field at the moment. It's a nice, calm start so far for all these drivers. Running very high is Danny Cervantes, and unfortunately losing a little momentum. He falls back into 3rd and is now under threat from Josh Conker for the podium positions. But Abner Acosta pressuring Bradley Holly for the lead as we complete lap 1. Bumper to bumper.
Well, Reese, Abner Acosta doing exactly what he needs to do right now to maintain that Season 4 championship. But don't forget, the year-long championship's still on the line. And if Abner wants to take that crown as well, he's going to have to get past Holly. He looks to the inside as we go through turns 3 and 4. That's the shorter distance around the track. But without the momentum, Holly able to keep him safely in his rear.
Nice and safely as Conker still trying to find a way past Danny Cervantes. Matthew Long with the fastest lap so far. Now we're up to racing speed. Got a few drivers running the high line back in the field. But altogether it's been a very even start. Acosta is looking to the inside of Bradley Holly once again. But seems Bradley nice and comfy. Just a car width or so up from the apron. You see him get that run out of turn 4, leading the way again across the quad oval. Seems that Acosta and Holly starting to break away from the rest of the field on those straights. It's going to be up to Danny Cervantes and Josh Conker to try and pressure them. It's a really good run by Patrick Cowgill around the outside of Matthew Long. And he manages to just slip himself into 5th place behind Josh Conker and Danny Cervantes. And same story as always. It seems turn 3 and 4, Acosta really likes the inside there.
He does, but you got to remember, trying to drive the car down to that white line at the inside of the track uses up more rubber. And the more you do that and use up the tires, the quicker you're going to fall off the pace. And Abner Acosta, you got to believe, does not want to fall too far behind the pace of Bradley Holly.
Tell you what, Patrick Cowgill is on a roll here. He's just drafted up behind Acosta and Holly. Excellent run from the number 31, but Bradley Holly, his eyes are forward. He's not looking behind him much at all. A really good run from Patrick Cowgill, up from 7th to 3rd now, and he's working that outside line really well. So you see him emerging there to the left of your screen versus Abner Acosta, and he could be challenging for the lead pretty soon.
Well, Reese, he did add some chrome to that paint scheme on the 31, and as those of us from the United States know, anytime you put chrome on something, it goes faster.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm pretty sure that's true in Australia as well. Too wide across the front stretch. Cowgill just avoiding the wall there. Acosta has to lift out with the number 31 to his outside, and it seems that a few drivers are starting to get the memo here. Acosta, he didn't get the best run off of turn 2 there. Josh Conker may put him under pressure. Cervantes going very hard into turn 3. He's down to the inside with Matthew Long just behind him. Adam Shane, who started in P4, he slipped back a little bit over the course of this opening stanza of the race, but he's still in it in this pack, all the way down to position 12. They're starting to break away from the rest of the field.
And Adam Shane up there making some moves on the outside. You can see he's right behind Danny Cervantes, one of our year-long championship contenders. And Shane has actually lost some ground off the initial start after an amazing qualifying performance. But it looks like he may have gotten into the wall there, Reese.
Yeah, on the way into turn 3. I think a bit of a delayed turn in. We'll go to a quick replay here. Check out what went on for him. So he was running okay on the outside, but coming onto the back stretch, yeah, it seems that he was okay there, but it was on the way into turn 3. Oh yeah, just an instant too late on the turn in and collecting the safer barrier. A little bit of damage then to the front right of his truck, and he's fallen back into position 12 right at the back of that pack. And you know what, that's brought everyone else back into contention as well. The field is all together in one big snake here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm also noticing Rob Haynes is starting to make some moves around the outside as well. You see him in the 199 there on the outside behind Patrick Cowgill, but Abner Acosta moving up to the outside too, trying to get a whisper of a draft off the number 31, who's starting to challenge Bradley Holly for the lead.
That's right, my fellow Michigander, Patrick Cowgill there in the 2nd position. Braving some snow this week, and looks like it hasn't affected him too bad, as he is thriving here in the Atlanta sun, going to work on the 184 of Holly for that top spot.
Little hard into turns 1 and 2 for Matthew Long there. You saw him all the way up on the outside, but oh, we've got a truck crashing at the back of the field onto the apron. Who is that? That's Adam Zemke. Oh, that's a big shame for him. Very bad incident there, and it looks like it was actually contact with another truck, Rob Nella. Get a quick replay of that. It was on the exit of turn 2, and oh dear, I don't know how race control are going to look at this. Check this out. Rob Nella in the number 18 on the outside. When they come out of turn 2, Nella moves down the circuit a bit and ends up giving Zemke a little bit of a tap, which turns into a big whack with the wall. So the number 57's end of season not going to plan at all. No fast repair in these trucks as well, so Zemke, as he pulls into the pits, is probably going to be there a while.
Yeah, and after a strong start to the season with a win for Adam Zemke, it is not ending that same way, as he unfortunately tangles with the wall there. And that's after having his mistiming his lap in qualifying. So Zemke just having a rough day here in Atlanta.
Well, it's still Holly from Cowgill, from Acosta, from Conker, from Haynes, your top 5, and it seems that Cowgill's starting to lose a bit of ground then to Bradley Holly on these laps. Abner Acosta making life a bit difficult for him there on the inside. Cowgill was taking advantage of the fresh tyres very early on to push hard around the outside, but every chance that those tyres are now past their best. A little bit of oversteer for Patrick Cowgill on the exit of turn 2. He does move ahead of Abner Acosta again, but the rears, I think, are starting to complain.
Yeah, it does not take long for the tires to start arguing with you here at Atlanta. You can see even just from this on board with Danny Cervantes, you can see all the little stones and little pebbles in the track. This track surface obviously laser scanned by iRacing to give us the most realistic version, and unfortunately laser scanning means that they have every little pebble of that racing surface that is just cheese gratering these tires as they go around the track.
Well, Bradley Holly is doing a good job of looking after them. He currently leads by 0.6 of a second, and Cowgill, a little bit of a wiggle for the number 31. Yeah, those tyres are definitely past their best. Cowgill, he's already been passed by Acosta and Conker, and now he moves back into 5th place, actually even 6th. As Matthew Long passes him there. Keep an eye on the behaviour of this number 31. Oh, big oversteer again, but he recovers it. He's pushing a little too hard here, Patrick Cowgill. Those rear tyres will already be overheated. He needs to take it easy through the next couple of corners, cool them back down.
That's a very fair point there, Reese.
Again.
Cowgill is just sliding that truck around, and all that's going to do is make whatever grip issue he's having that much worse by just scrubbing away the grip on those tires. So what Cowgill needs to do is maybe back off a little bit, catch his breath and get his head straight, and keep going as he was earlier on in the race. Ooh, you can see another big oversteer moment there. Cowgill just having all kinds of struggles with the rear end of his truck.
He'll probably be hoping that there's a caution in the next couple of laps so he can pit and not lose too much time. He's even struggling with the fronts a little bit here. He's running the extreme high line right up to the wall just to make sure there's a little less load being put through those tyres. But you see how much ground he's lost there as Cervantes and Long side by side in turns 1 and 2 for 4th and 5th. Bradley Holly still leading the way, and he's still extending that gap, 0.63 of a second now. Abner Acosta still in 2nd place. If the race were to finish right now, Bradley Holly would be your year-long champion. But of course, we still have plenty of laps to go, 67 to be exact, as lap 19 begins.
That's right. As we get deeper into this run, Reese, you got to think this is a track where the undercut is a particularly powerful move. Just with the severe drop-off that the tires have, you can really make a huge difference if you're able to get in there early, have under green flag pit stops, and be able to run a few laps before those that were running in front of you head to pit road. So that's something to keep an eye on here as we get closer to those green flag pit stops.
Bit adventurous here for the likes of Doug Evans, Mark Kalin, Clayton Montgomery as well, who puts a move on Doyle Lawrence into turn 1, just up ahead of these guys. And Patrick Cowgill, with his tyre issues, is falling further and further back into the midst of these guys, and he falls back to 7th as Rob Haynes makes his way by. So, unfortunately, all of that brilliant work that Patrick Cowgill was doing in the opening stint has been negated. He's fallen right back to where he was now, where he started in position 7, and it's a long way ahead to the front pack.
Yeah, it really demonstrates how steep the tire cliff here is at Atlanta. Just a few laps of pushing really hard, trying to get around Bradley Holly, and it has, and he scrapes the wall there, and it has very much compromised his race, and looks like it's only going to get worse from here.
That's a big shame there for Patrick Cowgill. We'll go to a replay once again and see what it looked like from the perspective of Thomas Sink. And of course, running very high, Patrick Cowgill, but the flip side of that is you get a bit of understeer in the middle of the corner, and that's what ends up happening. Just a slight tap of the wall, scrape, and you lose quite a few miles per hour of pace. So Cowgill now fallen even further behind that pack. He's starting to drop further back into probably 13th place now, with Richard Thomas starting to round him up. But we check out Doug Evans right in the midst of this pack for 7th place. Ahead of them, Clayton Montgomery and Rob Haynes are battling. These guys will just be waiting for that opportunity to go in for a green flag pit stop, because we haven't had any incidents so far that have required cautions. It's altogether been quite a clean race, apart from the incident that Adam Zemke suffered from.
It always amazes me how willing drivers are to push against each other at this point in the race. I know from my perspective as a driver, at this point in the race, I'd probably be white-knuckling the wheel just trying to keep my truck going straight, but these guys are not hesitating to challenge each other for position, which either shows how brave they are or how terrible of a driver I am.
Sometimes safe is the way to go, but apparently here in the midfield, certainly not the case. Unfortunately, we've had our first retirement, or a second rather. Adam Shane, unfortunately, has disconnected from the server, so we've lost him and Adam Zemke. James Dewar did not take the start. It might be a start and park there for James Dewar. For the lead, though, Bradley Holly side by side with Abner Acosta now. Acosta's really come back to it, and he edges ahead. Coming into turns 3 and 4, Josh Conker observing behind, and ever so close to contact between our two Season 4 championship contenders and half of the playoffs contenders. A little bit harder into the turn there for Bradley Holly, but he's going to have the advantage on the outside, and technical issues there for Abner Acosta. That's the worst time for that to happen.
Yeah, he has had some very important races taken away from him as a result of connection issues, and you can see right there Abner's connection is not doing great as that truck blinks in and out a few times. And would hate to see the championship decided that way, but unfortunately Abner's been bit by that bug before.
Well, fingers crossed that he holds on to it, that his Ethernet cable is cooperative. They continue to run side by side for the lead here, and they've gone now more than a quarter race distance on this set of tyres. And of course you do get that maximum 4 sets, so wondering if it might be a good idea to look at pitting very soon. Of course, these drivers at the front, they'll try to run as long as possible to get the freshest set of tyres possible for the end. Have a look at Josh Conker. Gives his teammate a bump there, try to help him along in his battle for the lead. Conker is aware of the championship situation, and he will be backing Abner Acosta here. But Bradley Holly, with a slightly better exit out of turns 1 and 2, secures the lead once more.
You got to think Josh Conker out of championship contention. So he's going to do everything he can to help his teammate. However, you also got to know that Josh Conker's a racer at heart, and he is not going to want to let the trophy slip out from his grasp if he has a chance to capitalize on it.
Indeed, a race win certainly wouldn't go amiss. Holly, a slight bit of oversteer on the exit, but he manages to hold on to the momentum. The top 3 in their own little world here versus the rest of the field. Long and Cervantes behind for 4th and 5th. They were fighting pretty hard, but it seems that Matthew Long has secured that position, and he's starting to gap Cervantes now. Bradley Holly, you see his steering inputs here. Soaring away at the wheel a little bit just to try and feel out the grip of the fronts, but maybe some corrections there as well. Just trying to keep the truck as straight as possible, keep those tyres in their operating range as long as he can. But Abner Acosta and Josh Conker, it's 2 against 1 here in the team's sense for this race win. Private label team height with the numbers advantage here. So Bradley Holly has got the world of trouble to try and surmount.
You know, I'd love to just see a video of Bradley Holly racing out of context, because right now he basically just looks like somebody's dad on their way to pick up the kids from school. And in reality, he's racing with 2 of the very best in this series, and barely an inch between himself and the other trucks around him.
Of course, Josh Conker, a former Precision Racing League champion, and Abner Acosta, with the run of form that he's had since coming to the oval side. Nothing short of spectacular. But that's it's been Bradley Holly's game for some time this season. Acosta is having a bit of trouble securing this place here. Of course, they don't want to get into each other too much at this stage of the race. Any form of contact, putting them back in the field, that's going to leave them open to lose potentially to Danny Cervantes and Thomas Sink. Cervantes in 5th, Sink in 7th. That's how they are as things stand. And Patrick Cowgill going for a pit stop there, I believe. Those tyres were certainly substandard, but now he's on a nice fresh set. And that tells you how much time you lose with a green flag pit stop. Cowgill had fallen to the midfield by the time he went into the pits and has lost a lap as a result.
Yeah, it looks like by the length of the stop, he may have had some damage repaired as well, which did lengthen the stop, but we'll see if that does him any favors now, as he's about 3 laps down as they run on the track.
Adam Zemke's back out on the circuit as well, and goodness me, he is quite some time down. 17 laps to be exact on our leaders. But I'm noticing Patrick Cowgill on those fresh tyres. He is just monstering it. Look at him. He came out behind these guys, remember. Now watch when they come to the turn. Watch how much more pace Patrick Cowgill has. Zoom. Look at that.
Yeah, that little bit of extra grip that he's got with fresher tires, and the 2 leaders of this race almost look like they're holding him up.
I think that's indeed the case. Acosta and Holly, 1 lane each. Oh, have a look at Cowgill round the outside. That's incredible. I mean, that just shows you how much the fresh tyres are worth here on the first couple of laps of this stint. Patrick Cowgill completes his 3rd lap on that set of tyres, and he cleared them both in the space of a single turn.
Yep, managed to get one of those laps back, and probably hoping for some help on the caution side to maybe help him get his way back up on the lead lap. But Cowgill, I mean, just look at them compared to those last 2 laps. Cowgill almost 3/4 of a second faster than Holly there on lap 31.
Huge pace difference there, and whoa, big oversteer moment for Matthew Long, who has been looking after his tyres in this stint. He's managed to get up to the back of the top 3 battle now, so it's a 4-way fight for the lead of this race.
Yeah, Matthew Long, driver, spent a good portion of the season in championship contention, actually led the points for a good chunk of this early season. Unfortunately, had some bad luck there towards the latter part of the midpoint, and fell back a little bit in the championship. But nonetheless, Matthew Long is definitely an accomplished racer and is showing that here today as he drives up to be in the mix here with the top 3.
Coming up on half race distance pretty shortly, and both Holly and Acosta going to the high line. Their tyres are starting to cry out for mercy here. Running side by side as they are. Question is, who is going to pit first? Do they attempt to pit at the same time? Certainly wouldn't be optimal for either of those drivers. They avoid the pits this time around, and it's going to be Holly just scored ahead by 1,000th of a second at the line. This is, oh, they make contact, the contenders. Ooh, Abner Acosta does back out of it slightly, but Bradley Holly, excellent recovery there. And now it's back into business. He's fallen back into 3rd place. He's going to get a bit of a push there from Matthew Long, but now Abner Acosta into the lead.
And you can see by the look on his face there in the onboard camera, Bradley Holly is not happy with that turn of events. He's given up a couple spots there, but he looks deadly serious right now. And if I were Abner Acosta, I might be a little nervous at this point. We look back at the replay as they drive off into turn 3, and you can see Acosta on the bottom there.
Well, this happened in turns 1 and 2. It just looked to me like maybe a bit of understeer from Abner Acosta. Holly goes all the way down to the inside, and yeah, Acosta was trying to stay middle of the road there. Look at the helping of opposite lock that Bradley Holly had to give that. It's a miracle he ended up recovering it. But I think now, Bradley Holly probably a good idea to pit pretty soon. He'll want to use the undercut on those fresher tires to try and get past Abner Acosta again.
Yeah, that was an amazing save by Holly. Definitely deserves a move of the race for that alone. As we saw on the onboard there, just definitely stayed in the steering, and I think a lesser driver would have probably ended up in the wall at that point.
So we're looking a little more spaced out here now, up at the front of the field, as on slightly differing tyre states. Some pushing a little harder, some pushing a bit less. The drivers now finding out where their trucks stand on these worn tyres. Remember, it's a fixed setup series as well. All drivers are running the exact same setup. One of the only things you can really adjust to your liking is the brake bias, and that's not really relevant here at Atlanta. It's basically just lifting into the turns.
Yeah, these trucks, really when you're on fresh rubber here, you can go just about flat out around this track. Obviously that is not the case right now. They're definitely going to have to burp the throttle right now, as Abner Acosta beginning to put some daylight between himself and Josh Conker. Actually, Conker looks like he... Oh, well, RIP the cone.
Yeah, see you later, mate. Josh Conker does make it into the pits, though. The first of our front runners to make a visit to the pit lane. Also saw Danny Cervantes and Clayton Montgomery battling side by side for 4th and 5th. Cervantes may be starting to lose touch with Acosta and Holly. Conker brings it into the lane, into the stop, and no surprise there that the tyres are coming on. He's joined in the pits by Tom Amassi and Danik Momi.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see what Josh Conker is able to do on fresh tires. Really...
Penalty.
Oh, no! Josh
that would
Conker
have
gets
been
a penalty.
Yeah, that would have been an unsafe pit entry, potentially. Perhaps even speeding on the way in. He was really struggling to slow it down in time. So Abner Acosta's not going to get any help from his teammate now. Acosta there in the lead. A full second ahead of Bradley Holly now. We'll see if he decides to bring it into the lane in the number 5. We monitor pit lane. There goes Acosta, there goes Holly. Well, not seeing anyone except Matthew Long jumping into the pits. He's decided he's had enough. Mark Kalin as well. We've got Doug Evans, Jim Westerfield, CM Pennington, and Nicholas Hunter all in the lane as well. Josh Conker still in his pit box, and I'm not too sure how much longer he's going to be spending in there. That's definitely longer than a penalty, surely.
Yeah, he is still parked there.
Okay, Josh Conker. I'm not too sure what's going on, because there we go. Conker did manage to get going eventually. That's a much longer pit stop than he would have been expecting, though. Abner Acosta, meanwhile, jumps into the lane from the lead. Fellow playoffs contender Thomas Sink is in the lane too. Clayton Montgomery and Richard Thomas also in the box getting their tyres. So Bradley Holly and Danny Cervantes going long. Only a lap longer for Bradley Holly. Into the pit lane he comes, and with Abner Acosta pitting a lap before, it'll be interesting to see if Bradley Holly will be able to maintain the gap that he had before. He'll have to push extra hard on this new set of tyres to try and challenge for the lead again.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how the Holly pulls off this pit stop here. A fairly decent stop for Abner. So we'll see how the 184 fights back there, and a very quick stop for Holly. Almost a half second quicker. That's going to be a lot of time on the track.
Yeah, it'll translate into a pretty good run there for Bradley Holly. And seems to me now that Abner Acosta, he's all the way back in 9th place at the moment. Holly re-enters the track in 6th place alongside Mark Kalin. Holly side by side with him. That's interesting. I would think that with Abner Acosta having the undercut, even the 5/10 faster stop by Bradley Holly would have resulted in Acosta being ahead, but apparently it hasn't worked out that way. Now Bradley Holly is in the effective race lead. No, Matthew Long is. Long had a really good run there. He's actually taken advantage of fresh tyres, having pitted first out of our front runners. Now, he's quite a ways ahead of Mark Kalin, Bradley Holly, Doug Evans, Abner Acosta. Dalton Geyer is the only driver yet to come into the pits, and I would not want to be in that number 36 with the tyres in that state.
Yeah, I would agree. At this point, Dalton Geyer's like a cow on ice skates here as he comes around heading to, very nearly hits the inside wall there coming to pit road, but he'll pull down to pit road and get 4 fresh tires on there.
So it's going to be Matthew Long by 3 seconds or so over Bradley Holly for the race lead. Excellent stuff there from Matthew Long. He ended up executing that perfectly. Question is it going to work out for him towards the end? He's going to run out of steam on those tyres long before Bradley Holly, Mark Kalin, Evans, Acosta. They're all separated by many a car length each. So this is all going to be about who's the best at conserving their tyres and who decides to use them up when.
Yeah, really excited to see how the tire strategy plays out here. Matthew Long really, at the moment, seems to be in the catbird seat, trying to get this one wrapped up as we enter in the last third of this race.
Looking at the lane times for our cars, Bradley Holly on my end showing up as having a pit stop over 2 seconds, a lane time more than 2 seconds faster than Abner Acosta. So that's going to be part of why he ended up so far ahead, up into second and trying to challenge Matthew Long here, but Long led by 3.4 seconds at the line last time around. He's taken advantage of those fresh tyres. He's got the gap that he needs for now, but it's only if the race stays green that he can take advantage of that. If there's a caution, then that gap will be completely erased.
That is another reality that we have not seen yet in this race. Despite some close racing that we've had, no cautions as of yet. And I think at this point, it could be a real game changer if the yellow were to come out.
There's always a possibility, especially as fatigue sets in for the drivers. The races are nice and short here in the truck series, but of course, with how intense the racing is, and how intense oval racing is full stop, you do sometimes end up falling off the wagon a little, making mistakes. Lap time comparison there. It seems that that Long, a bit faster than Bradley Holly last lap. Holly is starting to gain some of that time back though. We'll see how he can do to just chip away at that gap. Abner Acosta gets a position though. He's past Doug Evans for 4th place. He's in that battle with Evans and Mark Kalin at the moment. And have a look just up ahead. There's a bit of traffic that they're going to have to negotiate. Josh Conker and Bradley Holly are side by side for 2nd and 3rd meanwhile. And they actually made a little side-by-side contact in turns 1 and 2. They're going to have to be careful there.
I believe Conker's actually still a couple laps down from that pit road penalty.
My apologies.
But he's definitely shown he still has that front running pace. So if he's maybe able to catch a break and just give a couple cautions, give him a lucky dog or two, we could see him definitely back up into contention.
If there was going to be a lucky dog, it would currently go to Dalton Geyer. He is the leader of the cars, a lap down or more. Geyer, of course, the last of our trucks to pit, and so he'll have the freshest tyres towards the end of the race, and we're starting to get to that phase now. Lap 57 of 85. This race is going to be over before you know it. Gap for the lead gradually coming down. It's under 3 seconds now, 2.8 to be exact, between Matthew Long and Bradley Holly, as Abner Acosta makes his way past Mark Kalin and is now up into the top 3 once again. In terms of lap times versus Bradley Holly, seems that Holly a tenth faster on the previous lap. Of course, he does have slightly fresher tyres.
You got to wonder too how much of that is well, you see there right now Holly pretty much having the advantage over Abner, but of course Abner has also been racing for position for some of those laps, and we'll see how that gap comes down as we also focus on the lead, the race for the lead, I should say. You got to wonder, is Bradley Holly that much quicker, or is Matthew Long starting to play the tire management game here and maybe back her down a little bit to make the life of those tires a little bit longer?
Yeah, I think that might be what he's doing. I think priority number 1 for the number 99 is just to push those tires as little as possible. You see barely any hint of over or understeer from Matthew Long. He's driving quite well at the moment. He'll still have some rubber left to fight against Bradley Holly if he ends up catching up, which shouldn't be too far away. The gap's now down to 2 seconds as Long crosses the line. Notice Patrick Cowgill has come back into the pits as well, and he's been stopped for nearly a minute. It's a bit of a shame to see. Perhaps getting a penalty, coming in for his second pit stop after he worked the tyres incredibly hard in the opening stint, and he's put himself at a disadvantage versus everyone else.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Cowgill really looked like he could have been in contention for the win today, but as has been the case for a lot of this season, the luck just not going his way.
Well, there's Abner Acosta. He has dropped Mark Kalin and Doug Evans, and he's starting to round up Bradley Holly, making it under 3 seconds. You just saw Holly there at the bottom of the screen. Acosta's going to be getting a nice draft here with Josh Conker and Dalton Geyer, who are fighting for 23rd and 24th. Clayton Curry will be in there as well in those positions.
Well, with how Abner's ran this season, he started 8 of the 9 races and won 5 of them. I don't know if I'd want to be the driver in front of him right now with the way he's been driving.
Well, any slipstream is a good slipstream. That's the view from the back of Bradley Holly, with Conker and Geyer off in the distance and Acosta right behind him in that bright yellow machine. And the gap for the lead is now under a second for Bradley Holly. He is really catching up now to Matthew Long, who's probably starting to struggle a bit with oversteer in the middle of the turns.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think maybe this isn't a tire management game, and maybe this is just where the tires are at for Matthew Long. But he has got to see, I mean, look at those lap times. Holly, nearly a half second quicker there on lap 63.
That's crazy pace there from Holly, but you know, this is what he needs to do at the moment. He is working those tires incredibly hard, but the further ahead he can stay of Abner Acosta, the more likely he'll be to cross the line first of our playoffs contenders. Of our contenders, it is Holly and Acosta in second and third, Cervantes is fifth, and Thomas Sink is in eighth. That's how things stand at the moment, and have a look at that. You can almost visually see the gap coming down as Bradley Holly rounds up Matthew Long lap by lap. 33.245 on lap 65 for Matthew Long, and a 32.99 for Bradley Holly. Oh, and Matthew Long, he just caught the apron a little bit. This is going to give a good advantage to Bradley Holly. Lack of momentum for the number 99.
Yeah, you get the tires down on that flat part of the track, and it will definitely upset the handling. Ooh, and you can see a big moment there from Matthew Long coming off at turn 4. Gets all kinds of squirrely, and that opens the door for Holly to get right by.
Seemed pretty simple there. A little bit of a mistake for the driver in front, slipped to the inside. Also noticed that Bradley Holly was correcting the wheel himself a little bit. So his tyres might not be at their best at the moment. Got some traffic just up ahead. Curry, Traver and Pennington up ahead of these guys. We're starting to come now to the final stage of this race. It's 19 laps to go, and Bradley Holly will lead the way. Abner Acosta is a long way behind there. You just caught him at the top of the screen. Bright yellow machine. What can Acosta do from here?
Well, he's beginning to run down that gap between himself and Matthew Long. Acosta still in position right now, I believe, to claim the Season 4 championship. But as we sit right now, that year-long championship in the grasp of Bradley Holly in the 184.
He's caught right up to that pack as the battle for 6th continues. Doug Evans fighting here with Clayton Montgomery and Mark Kalin. Kalin and Montgomery going all the way to the high line. Doug Evans decides to run the white line down to the apron. And big oversteer there for Kalin. He goes off into the apron. He manages to recover it though, and we stay green. Pretty good recovery there from Mark Kalin, but that's what ends up happening when you're on tyres that old. 24 laps old are the tyres for Mark Kalin, and just running around the outside. Yeah, just lost a little bit of grip there on the exit, and very lucky not to go into the wall. That would have been a big helping of opposite lock.
Yeah, you can tell that was a pretty big moment there for the 62. Luckily, didn't go any worse than it did.
Well, he ends up having to give up the position there to Thomas Sink. Sink now up into 7th place. In terms of moves through the field, the driver that's gained the most positions is Tom Amassi. He's up 10 positions. It's up 9 positions for Baron Hilton, up 8 positions for Jim Westerfield and Clayton Montgomery. So pretty close running for the Hard Charger Award in this race. But Bradley Holly seems incredibly comfortable there in the lead. He's just content to sit behind this battling pack for just outside the top 20. And Clayton Curry a lap down on Ryan Traver, just making a slight bit of contact ahead. That's not what Holly will like to see. He doesn't want to be held up too much by these guys. Seems he's going to make himself known in this battle, as it's an over-under move on Nicholas Hunter from Danik Momi, and he manages to just grab 18th position across the line. Holly is right in it now, and this will be what Abner Acosta is looking for Bradley Holly to be held up by this pack. And a bit of a technical issue for Clayton Curry. That's not going to inspire confidence. Bradley Holly had to lift out, and now there goes Matthew Long up the inside, challenging for the lead again, but he's going to get held up on the inside.
And Bradley Holly, with all this heartache and headache that he's had to deal with here in the last couple laps, that's now allowed Abner Acosta to pull within 1 second as well. So this little gathering of lap traffic could be a huge game changer for the rest of this race.
Yeah, Bradley Holly's not looking too happy at the moment. You see the frustration starting to creep on his features right at the end of the race. Having to deal with lap traffic and losing time to your championship rival. The worst thing that can possibly happen, but he's managed to clear that pack. And that's crucial. Abner Acosta is still right in the midst of it all as they continue to battle. Hunter and Traver, they almost made contact. Acosta goes to the inside to try and negotiate this. Will they make it 3 wide on the back stretch? I question the wisdom of that, and they're not going to do it just yet. But now it is Abner Acosta who has to deal with the lap traffic, and I suppose with Bradley Holly making his way past him, that's an opportune moment there for him to take advantage, with Abner Acosta now losing time in the midst of this pack.
Yeah, that's one problem when you have a track like this where you can run so many different grooves. Unfortunately, sometimes the lap down drivers are running just as many grooves as the lead lap drivers, and can create a bottleneck like we're seeing here.
Well, Acosta's cleared them. Now he's only got Matthew Long and Bradley Holly up ahead. The next car up the circuit from the lead is Tom Massey, who's currently in 17th place. And I think with now 9 laps to go, with 10 laps to go rather, there's enough of a gap that Bradley Holly won't have to worry about him just yet. But we'll see what the lap times end up being like for these drivers. A 33.3 for both Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta. They're pretty much dead even on pace at the moment. It's all going to come down to how Acosta can take advantage of the draft from Matthew Long. He's got to get past Long first, and then he can start challenging again, but time is rapidly running out. 8 laps to go.
Yeah, Bradley Holly once again in a very solid position for that year-long championship. And that little bit of annoyance that we saw out of him when he was dealing with the lap traffic, that's bad news for the competition. Because Bradley Holly on his worst day is a pretty solid driver. But when he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's a little bit riled up, he can be darn near unstoppable.
Might have given him the motivation he needed to pound out those fast laps in the lead. But Acosta's starting to catch up again. 33.4 for Holly, 33.5 for Long, 33.3 for Abner Acosta. It's still on here for the end of the year in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. They'll have 6 laps to go when they cross the line next. And the top 3 equidistant as they make their way through turn 3.
Yeah, we're getting awfully close to that 5 lap to go point here, Reese, and your top 3 are just getting really close to each other here in the closing stages.
Holly's starting to run a little bit higher up the circuit, starting to preserve those tyres a bit. Acosta, it seems, going down to the inside in turns 1 and 2 and doing the same through 3 and 4. He's coming up on Matthew Long now. Might be able to make a move in the next couple of laps, but as the 5 lap to go warning sounds, they cross the line. This is starting to slip out of Abner Acosta's grasp, but that is to say nothing of the fantastic season that he's had. Certainly been some excellent performances from many drivers throughout the field here in the Truck Series. But Holly is the one with the advantage and starting to come up on some lap traffic again. Oh, Tom Massey collects the wall just up ahead. He manages to stay out of the way of the leaders, though. Holly has to give a couple of helpings of opposite lock, getting by Rob Nella. So losing a tiny bit of time there, but not a huge amount. Oh, no! It's all gone wrong for Abner Acosta. Rob Nella was recovering from a slide, ended up making contact with Acosta. He's got damage, and I think that's the season done there for Abner Acosta.
Well, that's a horrible turn of events for the 5 of Acosta as we take a look here.
So Massey, the number 18, Rob Nella, having a big slide up at the top of the circuit. And that's going to be something Abner Acosta's not too happy about at all.
Yeah, you can see the huge scrape along the right-hand side of that truck and some damage to the fender. And that's probably going to be the race for Abner here. Maintaining third is going to now be his primary objective. But Bradley Holly, with just a couple laps remaining now, in a much more secure position than it looked like a couple laps ago.
Well, it was always going to be tight between Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta up at the front of the field, but traffic has ended up deciding it, it seems. We still have 1.5 miles left of the season when Holly crosses the line here. And Barney will bring out the white flag on the stand. It's all about just keeping the truck straight now. Monitoring how the tyres are. Do I have enough left in the rears to put the power down nicely? I'll run a little bit higher, middle of the road. Try my best to look after the tyres. Quite the interesting season here for Bradley Holly. He does not have the most wins in 2021 Season 4, but he's certainly done well enough over the course of the entire year to put himself in this position for the playoffs. And it's all going to come down to this. Out of Turn 4, Bradley Holly wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And he is your 2021 Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series champion.
And looks like Abner able to limp her home in third despite the heavy damage to the front.
Yeah, good stuff there from Abner Acosta. He fought hard all season. He's really come into his own in 2021. Unfortunate that the season had to end the way it did for him, but Bradley Holly, with barely any damage at all on that truck, keeping the 184 nice and clean. And I wouldn't be surprised if Waterback Overdrive Racing ends up taking the team's championship out of all of this. Holly is going to waste no time here, pulling onto the start-finish stretch and beginning his victory celebrations, though not without banging wheels with a couple of other cars. These donuts will taste especially sweet. Well, that's the way things stand. Bradley Holly celebrating on the start-finish line. We'll step aside very briefly here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we will have interviews with our top three and go through our race results. Well, the season is run, done, and won in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. This is how they lined up at the end at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Bradley Holly, P1 in the race and P1 in the championship. He comes home nearly a second ahead of Matthew Long. Abner Acosta coming home in third place. Danny Cervantes and Clayton Montgomery will round out your top five. Thomas Sink, the final of our playoff contenders, finishes in sixth place to end off the season. And then it's Doug Evans Williams, Mark Kalin, Baron Hilton, and Rob Haynes rounding out your top 10, with Baron Hilton making up some very good positions there.
And we'll see our final lead lap runners in this group, with Jim Westerfield coming home 11th over Charles Sumner. Julio Lawrence was 13th over Austin Hunter, then Richard Thomas, our last driver on the lead lap. Then you got Dalton Geyer, Tom Amacy, Rob Neller, Nicholas Hunter, and Ryan Traver, all one lap down, completing your top 20.
CM Pennington will come home in 21st, and Danik Momi, the last of our lap-down cars. Josh Conker and Clayton Curry, unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalise. A couple of mistakes in the pits mean they come home 2 laps down. And then our retirement, Patrick Cowgill, well, he was right in it for the battle for the lead at the start, but just ate up those tyres. Shane and Zemke also not making it to the finish, and James Stewart not taking the start. Now we go to our driver interviews, and of course it's going to be Bradley Holly who we talk to first. Welcome, Bradley Holly. Congratulations, you are the 2021 Precision Racing League NASCAR Trucks champion. Your thoughts?
It was a long, grueling season between me and Abner. He was doing really good this season, and I had to step up my game today, and luckily I didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, certainly, which is a tough thing to do here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That surface, notorious for eating up the tires. It seemed that everyone was struggling with the rears at the end of those stints.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the race, I took it a lot easier and felt like I was just a lot looser. So I decided to push a little harder to see if I can wear out that right front. And I felt like it really did the trick. Plus having one lap fresher tires than Abner at the end, and I guess he made a mistake on pit road. Just everything accumulated to where it really worked out for me today.
Yes, it didn't quite go to plan at the end, though. He ended up getting involved in some lap-down traffic, which almost worked out for the worst for you. How is it negotiating traffic here at Atlanta, especially considering that everyone's going to be running multiple grooves here, even the traffic?
Oh, today it was a little more frustrating than normal. It equaled out so much after getting the tires worn out. I mean, they were running side by side, and I had to tap the brakes at one point and lost, I think, a little over half a second coming out of 2, and just finally said, screw. I basically sent it going into I think 3 or 1 and 2, I don't remember, and got by all those guys.
Well, at the end of the day, it's first place in the race and first place in the championship. An awful lot to unpack from this season, but the main point is it's your season and you must be happy with the way you performed throughout the year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a league in general, this season everybody cleaned up their act, and we were able to get a lot of good runs in it and have a lot of green flag runs. May need to work on some short track stuff a little bit more, but all in all, I was happy with my performance. I was happy with how everybody else was racing all year. We have a great group of guys, and hope we never lose them.
We certainly hope so too. Well, Bradley, the floor is yours, and the glory is yours as well. Who do you have to thank for your championship victory tonight?
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting us. You always put on a great show week in and week out. Second off, I would like to thank everybody in the Waterback organization. We try to communicate as best as we can. Sometimes we have our bumps and bruises between teammates, and but what I really enjoy about my group is or our group is that we can work things out and put things behind us. And then last off, I want to thank everybody in the PRL, all the organizers. We all do a great job, or try to do our hardest to put on the best series we can, and then everybody that races in it for keeping it clean and just trying to have fun.
That's the spirit right there. Number 184, Bradley Holly, your series champion for 2021. How will 2022 go? We'll have to find out next year. Next up, we've got Matt Long in the box. He finished second place, and he stood by with Chris Phoebe.
Matt, a great run for you today. The truck looked pretty fast there at certain points throughout the race, but lap traffic looked like it was a nightmare for you. Tell us about your ride.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid race. First of all, congrats to Brad on the win in the championship, and Abner on a heck of a season. I think he won like half the races or something. So congrats to those guys. Yeah, we got hung up a little bit early on with Danny. I think we were racing pretty hard side by side, and then once I cleared him, I actually caught the leader. So I felt like maybe I had something today. There, and then kind of rode there in pit maybe a lap or two before Brad and Abner, and got out in front, and then it was just a matter of could I save my tires given I had an extra lap or two versus Brad, and answer was no. I got a little loose, a little tight. He caught me. I don't think lap traffic really impacted me too much. It's a shame. I know Abner was catching me. I was going to not battle him too far, let those guys duke it out for the championship, but I think he got caught up with some traffic there. So overall, it's a good race. I'll take it. Second place, not quite the season we wanted, but I think a podium finish, and excited to get on to the off season.
That was one thing I was going to ask you about this season, Matt. You had some pretty good moments, but you had a lot of tough luck as well. And how do you take the lessons you learned over the course of the season into next year and put those to use?
Well, actually it was kind of a last minute deal running the trucks this year. I was planning to run some road course racing, and then I had a conflict, so I switched series, and I'm really glad I did. I'm normally not a fixed setup racer. I much prefer the open stuff, but since Cup's moving to fixed setup next year, this was kind of some good practice, with the tire management and running trucks. So overall, I think I gained a lot of good experience with fixed setup that'll help in the Cup Series next year, which I'll be focusing on. And we had a good year. We started out in the lead for quite a while, and then just the last couple races didn't go our way. So we'll take it.
All right. Well, anybody you want to thank for your season and your race here today, Matt?
Yeah, just you guys for putting on the show, PRL, Charles Sumner for hosting the league, and all the fans and friends out there watching. Appreciate all the support every week.
All right, that's Matt Long, our runner-up finisher here today at Atlanta.
That is indeed, and the next driver we're going to talk to, P3 finisher Abner Acosta. Well, Abner, the season is over and you were challenging Bradley Holly all the way to the end. Ultimately, it is second in the championship for you, but I think you can still be satisfied with this season.
Hello guys, good evening. Yeah, disappointing, but it was really fun to race Brad at the end, and just shows how close it is. Level wise, a lot of very frustrating on this track for sure. Just that the outside lane is so strong and Brad is so good at defending. But overall satisfied. I got a lot of wins this season, and just going back to season one, I think I had like 1 win or so, and I think this season I had like 5 wins. So definitely my skill has improved. So very happy with that, and just very happy that every race I have a chance to win.
What ended up happening in the pits for you in this race? Because we noticed you had a bit of a longer lane time than Bradley Holly.
Oh, so it wasn't broadcasted. Good. I ran the stall pretty much, so I had to reverse it back into the box, and that's where I lost my time. So I put myself in a hole, and it was difficult to get out from it. I thought I had a chance there at the end. There were some lap cars, like a whole train of them, just holding Bradley up. But yeah, I put myself in that hole with that pit stop, and yeah, it was just too rough to get out of.
That is a shame to hear, but regardless, you said it yourself. You've come in leaps and bounds on the oval side, especially this season. What do you think has been the key to that?
Definitely has been also since I joined the private label team hype team, they've been like, we go over the data and strategy, and just racing with them pretty much has made me a better driver. Hoping I feel I'm fairly satisfied with my oval side. I want more for sure. I also need to get back to my roadside too. I have some dust on that, so I need to find a way to also run a series in road as well. So you probably maybe season 2 you'll see me go back.
Well, of course, missing out on the year-long championship, but there's every chance you might have done enough to beat Bradley Holly to the Season 4 Drivers' title, so plenty of success coming your way here in 2021, Abner, and might very well be your first Oval Championship there, so congratulations if that is indeed the case. Who do you have to thank for your performance tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody at Private Label Team Hype, sponsors Tomahawk, Ethica, Tomahawk, Shades, Neonism, also Ty and Tommy, Milner, Josh, James, Brandon. I know I'm missing a lot of people right now, but everybody that just, for example, Ty and Tommy, they just show up just to watch us race and gave us strategy and stuff. And I know they have a lot of things to do. Busy lives and stuff, just to sit here with us and just kind of help us out throughout the race. So very thankful for that. For PRL, just hosting the league, they do a really good job with management and all that. You guys at GSRC, and everybody that participates and make this league what it is.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Abner Acosta. And that's going to conclude our proceedings here tonight. Chris, what a great season it's been for 2021 in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Bring on 2022.
That's right. It'll be nice to catch our breath for a little bit, have a couple weeks off before we jump into the 2022 season. But I got to say, after what we saw, I am pretty excited, and got to ask, Reese, what do you think of your first season of our style of oval racing up here?
I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been a while since I have regularly commentated on anything oval, and this has been really good to get back into that rhythm. There's been some great racing, some chaotic moments, plenty of cautions at a few rounds, so plenty of opportunities to work out strategy and to check out which drivers are doing the best at which track. I mean, it's certainly been a great reintroduction to oval racing for me, a guy on the other side of the world, and I'm certainly looking forward to the future on GSRC, and I'd certainly be happy to be back here next season and bringing the call to you all live here on GSRC. Well, before we go, we should give our sponsors one more thank here. Of course, Advanced Sim Racing. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. SimMSA, Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And of course, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks must also go to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks must go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp page for more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Joe, and Dougie Beard. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Of course, we are done for 2021 in the PRL, but we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so make sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and give them a watch. Until next time, though, we say race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.